Hi, guys. Exciting news for season 4. The Thrive Tribe newsletter is for everyone and it's free.
To sign up for our newsletter and to get more out of Chasing Brighter and engage with our amazing community, go to chasingbrighter.com/newsletter to get the latest updates.
And every month we have freebies, so check it out.
Welcome to the Chasing Brighter podcast, the podcast created as a guide to make midlife the best life.
Are you ready to embrace the next chapter of your life with confidence and excitement? Your best life is just a listen away. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Superwoman Diaries, where we talk to the superwomen in our lives. And I'm so excited today to have Kassidy Owen with us. Cassidy is the founder of kassidylynnesocial and host of the In Between podcast. She helps brands and female founders build intentional social media strategies rooted in authenticity and connection. A passionate storyteller, Kassidy works with values-led brands to create real impact online and within their communities. Welcome, Kassidy.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited in the studio, too.
Yes. I've been wanting to have you on for a long time, so it works out. I love that we've switched to having interviews with Superwoman Diaries, because before we had the themes and then it was like we always had to like find a theme, and so I think this is so much more fun.
This is so much more fun, and you get to do some in person, which is even better, I feel like, because then you get to actually connect and have all the fun stuff.
Yeah, so Cassie's had to bear with me as I figure out what the heck I'm doing. We have new microphones, new connections, lighting, all the things.
It worked out well, though.
Yeah.
Now we know what we're doing.
Yes, and I want to do now, like I've been watching all these videos, when people do, it's a 3-camera podcast, like Who's Your Daddy?
Yes.
Right? No, Call Her Daddy.
Call Her Daddy.
Yep. Call Her Daddy.
It's like both of them individually, and then,
Yeah, and so you need 3 cameras, and so that's my
your next
goal to try to do.
Well, you have this space in here.
Yeah, we're recording with Riverside, which I think Riverside kind of does that too. It's fun.
Yeah.
But you don't do as much editing on your podcast, right?
I have a producer, thank God. I don't know how I would do it without her.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do all the editing. That part.
I love it.
Really?
And actually, because I put podcast producer, as my title is on LinkedIn, I keep getting emails for companies looking for podcast producers. So I'm like, maybe I want to be like,
let me add another side gig.
Yes. So I want to start a little bit with just kind of what you're doing, like your projects and all that kind of stuff, and we'll just kind of see where it goes.
Yeah,
I'm free flowing.
So I'm Kassidy. I own Cassidy.Social, which is a social media management company. And Jess and Kelly were actually one of my first clients. We met through Pilates, and then you guys hopped on board, and I've had so much fun just developing this community that you guys have been developing. So since then, it's been about 4 years since I've started my business, and I've really narrowed down to focusing on female founders, helping them build their businesses in really a community-based or value-driven way. So focusing on people who really they care more about their mission than just making a sale is who I love to work with.
Yeah.
Telling the story as a human. Why did you start your business? Why are you doing what you do? And then developing content out of that. And then last year, I started my podcast, In Between Podcasts, which interviews female founders. And I really focus on the in-between moments of their lives. So my focus is, why do we go through these hard parts of our lives? What is the purpose of them, and how do we find growth?
Yeah.
And a lot of times with female founders, they not only experience that in their personal lives, but their business too. Yeah. And they have to continue to choose to show up, continue to choose to, work on the next project, do the next thing.
Yes.
I'm a big believer that the only reason that you would fail a business or anything that you try is if you stop. And so it's what is that motivation to keep going?
Absolutely. It reminds me of a few of our interviews with Shannon Russell. I should connect you with Shannon Russell from Second Act Success.
Yes. Yeah.
Because she has kind of switched to, so she is a business coach helping people, a career transition coach.
Yeah.
And she had a post, and it just resonated with me. She had a post a few years ago, and it was we'll work at a job we hate for our entire lives. We won't invest in ourselves for 3 years. And it's so true. And I think when you are a solo entrepreneur, particularly a female-owned business owner, I think there are a lot of obstacles, but it's you have to just double down and trust in yourself, right?
It's so interesting. And I always use this example in my head when I'm thinking about it, because it's so interesting, a female versus a male business owner. And people can say all they want, like, we're not different, but we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was talking to this guy one time and we were going somewhere and we were talking about running. And I was like, oh yeah, like, do you think you could have run to the coffee shop? And it would have probably 8-10 miles. Hadn't been in the gym, hadn't done anything. He's like, absolutely, I would run the whole thing. And I'm like, what? As a female, I'm sitting there like, well, I can't do it because I didn't train. Like, I was just sitting there, and my thought patterns, he immediately was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And as females, we don't have that luxury. I mean, I'm sure there's some females who are in a better place where they're able to, but I've never had that luxury of just like, oh, I'm going to go do this. I constantly have to have different conversations with myself to get myself to the space to invest in myself, to invest in my health, to invest in my business, both on a financial level, but also on a personal commitment level.
Absolutely. I think that comes from, I'm all about, and I know I've said it before on the podcast, about like the programming, like societal programming.
Yeah.
And so you're like, well, why would that be? It's like, I can't, you would have to walk a mile in a woman's shoes, understand comment from the time you were born to where that comes from. You know, I'm sure I talked about this before, but I had just read Glennon Doyle's Untamed. Have you read it?
Love that book. So good.
Yes. And so we read it. I read it during the pandemic.
Me too.
We were like driving. I don't know. I just freaked out and I was like, I need to get out of Nevada. Like we were on like lockdown. And my aunt and uncle have a cabin in Colorado. It's remote. And I was like, let's just go to this cabin. And I read that book on the drive there. And then we went to do a few things. And we went on this tour of what was it? It was like caves. And the tour guide was like, well, you know, it was discovered because you know how boys are. Boys can be boys. And Gabby was 13. And I was telling her about the book and she was like, Mom, listen to what they're saying. And then we did another tour and they were just saying something about like boys. So like the whole time we were there, they were telling us what we weren't. Right. So girls are not adventurous. Girls are not brave. Girls are, you know what I mean? It was like, because it was boys. And it was just like, when I started becoming aware of the programming and just like, oh my gosh, all the time we're told all of this stuff and treated this certain way. And of course, then that kind of pushes down, I don't know, your confidence or just, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I think there's just so many times when, and it's funny because I'm the blonde social media girl. So I feel like no one really takes me seriously.
Yeah.
But I've even done a couple mastermind groups local in town and I walk in and, you know, it's like the construction guys and the big guys in business and they're old and white basically. And they just don't see it that way. And they don't see that there's other ways of doing things. And it's interesting because you've had Lisa Chastain on the podcast, which is my money coach and my business coach. And we talk a lot about how business in the world has been so masculine led for the last forever, essentially, but we're going into more of a feminine energy in how we lead. I mean, we have more women in politics than ever. We have more women in business. Women and the feminine energy is really starting to take over. And that's what the world needs. We're in such masculine, deep energy. And so I'm excited for it. But I've really had to surround myself with the right people to support me to lead a business in a women's way, which is different than a man's way. I can't work 9 hours head down, no distractions. Like I have to go take a walk. I have to work shorter bouts where I'm more productive. And even still to this day, I get so locked into this mindset of, oh, I need to be a 9 to 5 when I purposely built a business to not be a 9 to 5.
I don't get it. Like when I have people like, well, I have to do this. I'm like, you own your own business. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do. Like that's like, not that that's a whole point, but it is kind of the point. And so it's like, you know, but I remember when I first started out in private practice and I wanted to be available to everybody. So I was like working weekends and I was working nights and I was working whatever. And I just started like pulling back and setting boundaries and people don't know. I don't owe them like what I do, like where I'm at. So I don't have to say, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't work at that time because no, I just say, this is the time I'm available. And I will to this day have people call and they'll say, oh, I work, 9 to 5. Do you work after hours on weekends? And I say, I'm sorry, I don't. My clients at work either do early morning or lunch sessions. And they say, okay. But it's like at first they're trying to get me to like work late. And it was like, well, you got to work 9 to 5. How come I can't? And not like literally 9 to 5, but you know what I mean? It's just like, I don't want to work nights and I don't want to work weekends and I don't want to, and so it's being able to be control of that.
And it's interesting because my industry and my job is a little different, right? Like I maybe have a couple meetings a month with my clients, but other than that, it's exchange work, right? Like I'm doing the work, I'm sending it to you for approval, and the clients are expecting it's being done. They're looking at the socials that it's being posted, all those things. So I get in the mindset of like, oh my gosh, my client's expecting me to be working. And I have to like laugh at myself sometimes because I'm like, it's 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. No one's thinking about you, Cassidy.
Absolutely.
Like, no one's thinking about what you're doing
yes.
or if you're working on their content. Like, and if they are, they would email you. Have I ever got an email like that?
Yeah,
No.
right.
And it's this internal dialogue that you're having. And if you actually ever asked your client if they cared that you worked weekends, even if they said yes, you would still be like, okay, go find someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think like I've always said, and I got this from when I was in grad school, my friend Samantha Benowitz, she's been on the podcast before. We did a group project together and she was like, I'm a smart worker, not a hard worker. And I was like, oh my God, I love that. And so I say it like all the time. So we worked so well together because it was like, you do this, I'll do this, goodbye, peace out, And it was like, you work with other people that were like, oh, well, should we use the or a, or should we do that? And they him and Han, it's like, I am not. I'm just like, do it, get it done in the end, goodbye, put it out there.
Yep. Well, and sometimes with projects, you just got to do that because if you wait until it's perfect, it's never going to be.
No, even with like podcasting, I don't know if I would have started it. And I just told Kelly, let's just record it and put it out there and then we'll figure it out. Right.
Look at where you are now.
And yeah. And then how about for you, like with your podcast, what was that journey like?
No, that was so a little different because I had hired Ruby, a producer here in town in Vegas. And so I had bought a package with her, which is like launch your podcast, right? So she goes through the whole thing and I put it off. Like I had paid her and it was just sitting there because imposter syndrome was like, nope.
Yeah.
And even now, like I'm 4 seasons in, so I do about 2 or 3 seasons a year. I'm recording now for the 4th season and I still put it off and was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I didn't get the numbers I wanted. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. And it's like, you can say that forever, but at the end of the day, you just have to do it.
Absolutely. And I think for podcasting, so I love when I started my business, it was like podcasts. So when I was contracting with a company and then a friend was like, come with me. I'm going to go rent this space. Will you share the space with me? And I was like, oh my gosh, now I have to get like an LLC and do all of this stuff. And how am I going to do this stuff? So I went, I just go down a rabbit hole of like Googling and information and YouTube videos. And I found this podcast, Practice of the Practice. And he had all this free information as much as he could. And then I just like got as much information as I could. And so when I started a podcast, I was like, well, I'm going to do the same thing, right? I'm going to listen to podcasts about building a podcast. I'm going to go on YouTube and watch YouTube videos and I do a podcast. And so many people said, with podcasting, you have an intimate relationship with your listeners and it is a slow build. And even talking to Ruby, because we had Ruby audit season 2, and it was just like, it's a slow build, but the relationship, like your listeners are loyal and they are there for you. And I want to say it's like listeners buy 75% of what they hear on the podcast because you trust that podcaster and you were like, oh my gosh, yes, because if they said it, they trust what you're saying. And so I think it is like a slow build. So I can see how it can be overwhelming because you're just recording and sending it out there and you're like, I hope people listen to it.
Yeah. And as you know, like if people aren't messaging you or giving you the good advice or good feedback, you're like, oh, do people like this? Do they care? Mm-hmm. So I had to really switch my mindset and be like, a little selfish. I'm doing this for me because I love interviewing people and I love getting to sit down and hear their story and ask questions that I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And so now going into this season, I'm being very intentional and excited about who I'm interviewing for me.
Yeah.
People I want to get to know better. Yeah. Maybe I even want to just build a friendship or community with them. And obviously I know that my ideal listener will align because they're probably a female founder or someone thinking about starting a business. Yeah. But that's been the most important thing for me to do is like, okay, am I going to enjoy this interview? Am I excited? Am I passionate about this? And then I'm going to get a lot out of it and just turn it into a podcast.
Yeah. Well, and I think there was someone I followed that was like, don't follow the trends. Like just do whatever you want to do, and you will get your audience. And I think, and you
100%.
don't get the feedback like on Instagram. You're like, oh, I had 1,500 views. Okay, that's working, and this is working, or whatever it is. And I totally feel the same when you're talking about. So I'm starting a podcast. Healing is my hobby, which I'm so excited about. More for the mental health space. And I'm saying, like, I have all these ideas. I was all ready to go, and I'm not pulling the trigger. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what that's about. And it was like, it was so much easier to have the accountability of starting with my sister, of having someone else. And so it's like, okay, well, then if we suck, we suck together. But it's like, of just being alone, it's like, I'm like you're saying, I'm like hesitating.
Well, and it's interesting because when I first started my podcast, everyone thought I was going to talk about social media because I'm a social media expert.
Mhm.
And I told Ruby, I was like, I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because even though I'm going to tell my audience and my people I work with that I'm the expert, I was so scared of other experts coming in and be like, oh, she's wrong. And so doing it in your field, I could see how that becomes even more scary because it's not just your opinion, right? Like you're talking about things and advice and treatments that are also like practical things.
Well, and that's what I want. It's like, I want it to be my opinion because I feel like I can't say my opinion. Like, I don't know, that's not the kind of therapist I am. If someone says, what should I do? I'm the therapist, like, what do you think you should do? It's like, you don't get to say
You're
that.
Like, don't say that.
No, and you can't say that's stupid or, so it's like, I want to be able to like give my opinion about something and talk about what I think and not be held by, I don't want to say my ethics because it's ethical, but like the standards that I have to practice in, but yeah, I think I was going to say also the thing I would say is you're an incredible interviewer.
Thank you.
You're so good.
It's so fun. It's literally something that I just feel like I do it and I don't even realize that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I feel like I've gotten way better, which it's one of those things where like you launch the first episode, you're like, don't listen to it, just skip on.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine listening to my first season now.
Yeah.
But even now, like I'm sure it happens to you, like I get nervous and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, like I hope this. And a lot of times I'm getting on Zoom or getting on Riverside with someone I've never met before.
Yeah.
And I'm interviewing them. And it's like, that's the part that's like, okay, let's hope they have a good personality and they interact with me well.
Fun. Well, we've had some, I'm sure still to this day you have that. Like we have people all the time talking about asking me on the podcast. And just honestly, like I can't even manage that at this point. I'm like, I'm sorry that like goes the wayside so many times because I'm just like overwhelmed. But we've had people that were like, oh, we'll see. I don't know what we have going on. It kind of fits with what we're talking about. Let's have them come on. And we're like, oh, I don't know how this is going to go. And they've been amazing. And you make amazing connections. And that's been really fun. And I do think that's helped us connect to so many people across the country. And the other thing I wanted to touch base on today, I don't know if you call yourself this. This is what I call you, a digital nomad. Does that resonate?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I feel like when I see digital nomads on Instagram, they're like truly
they're like literally in Puerto
all
Rico
over, and you're like, what are they doing?
Right.
I tend to like go to one place and like to stay there for a longer amount of time. I'm someone who I love a routine, and so I need to stay someplace long enough where like I can at least establish a routine.
Yeah.
And I have family in Florida, so that's very comfortable for me to go there. But I've also done like 2 or 3 weeks in Arizona and different places where like I can establish a little mini routine, but still be not in Vegas.
Right.
Home.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you love that part about your lifestyle?
Yes. I think it's one of the main reasons that I wanted a virtual business. Like I had totally stumbled upon social media. I didn't even realize I wanted a virtual business until I like really was challenged on my values and my why of starting what I started. And I totally had this moment of clarity of my brother had passed away from leukemia. And there was a moment, I was in college at the time, so I would like be studying. And there was a moment where one of the other kids was by himself in like the unit. And it was because his parents had to go work. And they obviously couldn't afford to have one parent stay during the day or whatever it was. And I was just like, no, like if something happens, I want to have a career where I can still be working, but I could be in this room the whole time if I needed to. So that was really like the root of the virtual side of things. And then the second was my mental health. I had coming out of before I started the business, had a really, really bad bout of depression and anxiety to the point where like in college, I would cry going to class every day. I did not want to go.
Yeah.
And so developing a virtual business that allowed me to like wake up, have a bad morning, and choose to start again at 2 in the afternoon
Yeah.
gave me such freedom. And it's like, I'm just so grateful for COVID in the sense of that people have that opportunity as a 9-to-5 workers too, right? Because
Right.
that to not have to spend the energy to get ready, go into the office, be around people, like to just be in your own space and still be able to work, I think is so, so powerful.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I love the travel aspect. I used to live in Florida. And so I love getting to go spend time with my family out there. And I definitely don't take advantage of it as much as I would like to.
Yeah.
But now my sister has had 2 babies, so I get to see my nephews anytime I
Yeah.
want because I'm virtual. So
Right.
there's so many different benefits. And it's actually funny because I'm not that I'm going away from being virtual. I love being virtual, but I've now started offering, well, we've always done content days,
Yeah.
but obviously you and Kelly are only in town at certain points. Now I'm doing with a couple different clients monthly content days.
Yeah.
And the reason was that I started doing 1 or 2 and I realized that my clients were missing the personal connection.
Yeah.
And I was really missing out on a really easy sell by going to their house and being like,
Yeah.
hi, I'm Cassidy versus doing
Yeah.
it in front of the
Yeah.
camera. And so I leaned into that more recently.
So a couple of things, and that's what I want to talk to you about today too. So it's like, I don't know what people think a social media manager is, but it's like, as a business owner, I have to make content.
Yes.
You can't make, like, I have a brand to sell and I have to make content. And so I think that's what people don't understand, that you still have to like make all the content,
Yes.
right?
People think there's like a couple different versions of people who come to me. The first one is they think like they're going to hand me their business and then I'm going to hand them back 10,000 followers.
Yeah.
Which, you know, there are businesses, ads and such that can potentially do that. But it's not a longevity side of business, especially a brand like yours, right? You're the face of your brand, you and Kelly.
Yeah.
I'm the face of my brand. You're hiring me to organize, potentially edit, potentially come up with concepts, depending on how involved you are.
Yeah.
I have clients all over the board. You love to be super creative. Like your content, you love to be in the moment, be like, oh my gosh, I want to record this. I have other clients that if they tried to do that, they would be sitting there for 2 hours and get nothing done, right?
Yeah.
Like they need a to-do list of like, record these 5 things.
Yeah.
And so really, if you're bringing someone, a social media manager, marketer in, you're using them as the expert on social media to organize, develop content, and be posting, right? Because
Yeah.
that also can be just like posting that first podcast. You can get to a
Yeah.
point where you're like, I'm not going to post this. Like imposter syndrome
Yeah.
is high. And so you
Yeah.
kind of have that person to do it for you. But yeah, you still have to be involved.
I am so far in. I just don't care anymore. Like I have major, like, I don't know if I have had it for my whole life, but I have like major body dysmorphia, like major. And so I know that I'm going to like hate any reel. I'm going to pick myself apart. And so just embracing of being like, I'm going to hate it. So I just have to put it out there.
It's so funny because pretty much every woman that I currently work with tells me when I post it, they
Mhm.
don't ever watch it.
Yeah.
They watch it to approve the content, right? If
Yeah.
there's copy on the reel or whatever. But after I post it, they do not watch it again.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? I don't watch mine again.
Yeah.
And it's so sad, right? Because like obviously I
Yeah.
don't know many men that do content, but
Yeah.
it's sad that we have to do that. But we also I'm reading The Anxious Generation right now. Have you read it?
Okay. Oh no, it's on my, you know what I'm reading Martha Beck's book, what? Beyond Anxiety.
Okay.
That's right. Oh no, but The Anxious Generation. I bought it like 2 years ago.
You need to read it because it's
Okay.
about essentially Gen Z, your
Yes.
kids' generation.
Yes.
It starts at 1995, which was the year I was born. So like a little bit late end
Yeah.
millennial. But it's so interesting reading this as a social media manager, right? Because one of the biggest things it talks about is in 2010, the girls that were in 2010, I believe, is when the iPhone was like fully developed, Instagram was developed, and that's when selfie trend had kind of started.
Yeah.
And that's also the highest dip in mental health, highest increase in mental health for girls and their outer appearances.
Yes.
And so it's very interesting. Obviously, I'm not a mental health professional or a doctor or anything, but like, did people have this much body dysmorphia? We didn't look at ourselves so much in our grandparents, in our parents' generation.
Right.
And so I wonder if that has something to do with it. But on a social side, where we are today in 2025, I do think sometimes you just have to find the best version and post it.
Yeah.
You're always going to find something
Yeah.
that you don't like.
Well, cycling back to the anxious generation, because I'm so old, I've been a therapist forever, I would say that constant access to things absolutely increases our anxiety and, you know, lowers our mental health. And there's so many times, because I think social media can be amazing and I love it.
Me too. I love it.
And so, but I think you need to curate your feed. And I wrote a blog post, oh my God, like 8 years ago about curating your social media feed, where it's just like you and I'm sad because the body positivity movement has totally tanked and changed. But it was at the height of the body positivity movement. And it was like, I have to reprogram myself about what's beautiful. And by watching all of these women in different shapes and sizes and bikinis and bras and underwear and all these things and doing all these things over and over again, because that's not what I saw. I saw people who were 6 feet tall with no boobs, 100 pounds, size 000. Like that's what I saw growing up. And so it's like I reprogram myself about what beauty is, and that helped me so much. And it's like you can have a feed that you feel great about. But there are people that are in my life that when I would see what they posted, it would piss me off. So I unfollowed because I was like, I'm getting these strong feelings about these people because people are posting their highlight reels. They're not hosting, not necessarily real, but they're not posting real life necessarily.
Yep.
And the people that I knew in my life were only posting their highlight reels. It made me mad. And so I unfollowed.
Yeah, there's also a mute button now. So highly.
Yes. Oh yeah, the mute button.
Check that out.
But also like with this creative space, like having things set up, I just have all these ideas. It's so funny because when we started, and I know when we started doing like the media day with you, it's because we needed you to hold our hand. Like you had to literally tell us every single thing to do. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I have this idea and this idea and this idea. And I just like love creating content. And that's a side of me that's growing.
Your confidence has definitely built, but I think you both got clear of like who you were talking to, and it's yourselves.
Yeah.
Out there, but yourselves, right?
Yeah.
And so when that happens, it becomes clearer when you're consuming content, when you're thinking about content, to have ideas for what you should be creating. But yeah, I completely agree. It's a crazy, crazy time in our world where we have to record everything that we do.
Yes.
And it's actually something that I'm trying to get better at, ironically, because I have been trying to be better about being active on my social media because I realize that I'm doing all these things for everybody else, but I'm not actually talking to my ideal client on my social media. And so we've been trying to develop new things and new ideas. And it's been on my list for, I'm not even kidding you, 3 weeks to record a talking reel.
Yeah.
I had developed the script, like I had everything. And one day I didn't have makeup on. I was in my coffee shop and I said, when I get in my car, I'm going to record it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to record it. And I did it and I was sweating by the end because it's 120 degrees here.
Yes.
But then I just posted it and it was just like, okay, like also, who cares?
Yeah. Well, I think so, you know, our listeners know we had some issues with social media this year. And so I was really on TikTok a lot. And I know when I first started, when I was looking at Instagram versus TikTok, I didn't understand it, but now I really get it. And to me, TikTok is super casual and gritty. And it's like you're not wearing a bra, you don't have makeup on. And Instagram is aesthetic. This is my beautiful kitchen. Look at me, whatever. And so I'm like all about, I'm here for TikTok right now. Yeah. Like I really am more from the perspective of the creator. I feel like there's less pressure. It doesn't have to be perfect and you can just hit record. But I'm so full of ideas because of like immersing myself in TikTok kind of to research and learn about like what I want to see. And I think it's like people on TikTok love a day in the life of like whatever the hell you're doing. And so that you say that like and I think it helps to have tools. I love tools and whatever, right? Like accessories, what you call equipment. So I have a new stand with a new light that makes it easy. And so I was changing the trash in my office. So I was like, I'm going to record life of a solopreneur. Because I'm literally mopping and doing that. Like, this is what you're doing.
It's messy.
And being like, I'm just going to record. No one cares. I don't think I care what other people are doing.
And the only time that someone will say something is probably your grandparents' generation. And it's because they really, truly do not understand. Like, they're more so inclined to say something if you're doing it to yourself. But even like if I'm out on content days and I'm recording you, no one says anything.
No. And it's funny because I'm sure you're frequenting coffee shops like I'm frequenting coffee shops. And I'm just like, oh, I'm like looking at the pastry case and recording. And then when I post a story, they immediately repost. All of the small businesses love that. And they repost and they love it. And it's like you're just promoting each other. And it's a positive thing, you know?
Yeah.
For sure.
No, if you are posting and you're in a local business, like definitely tag them because
yeah. And
they're listening to a podcast.
And that's what social media does, right? It helps us create connection. Yeah. And so even for you, that's so funny. We're one of your first clients, right? Because your mom did a great job selling you.
Oh, yes.
You did so good. And you had such a good presentation. And you were like so good. And we loved you right away.
Like, oh my gosh, it feels like I don't even know what I presented to you guys, but it probably was no good. I'm like, but
I thought you knew what you're talking. I thought you were an expert.
I
and
love
you knew what you were talking about. I'm like,
it's so,
let's go.
One of my, like, if I ever doubt myself, I always get so humbled because I'm like, I literally have every client that I started with.
Yeah.
Either they're still working with me or they either went out of business or did a transition where like they no longer needed social.
Yeah.
And that is just like the biggest compliment to me because I don't want to work with you for 3 months, right? Like I want to work with you with the evolutions of your business. And you know, we had some social media problems with you guys this past summer and like we were just trying to figure it out. And now we're starting to figure it out again. You know, like I want to be with you with all those evolutions until the point where you're like, okay, well, we have a full-time team now and they take care of it and all of those things. And like, I think business is so much easier when you have people in your corner that understand your mission because it also keeps you accountable. And a lot of times people want to do everything themselves. And I'm like, hiring even just a virtual assistant, someone where it makes you feel like, oh, I have to keep up with this.
Yeah.
It makes you take it more seriously, even if you're not making an income right away.
Yeah. When it's accountability, I think it creates accountability. Like you're saying, even with Ruby, you hired Ruby and then, you know, it gets you to be like, oh my gosh, I'm paying this
when
person.
You pay someone, you're going to do it.
Totally. Absolutely.
And it's like with social media and with podcasting too, like consistency is everything.
Yeah.
And you are never, ever going to build an audience, a community, anything unless you show up consistently for potentially years.
Yeah.
Potentially. I mean, Ruby will tell you like, I don't know what percentage makes it past the 3rd episode of a podcast recording because they just fall off.
Well, and it's your why. I think with so many things in life, it's your why. And if you're chasing, like for a while, I know Kelly is very analytical. And so she's like, oh, this is like trending. This is a top trending topic. And I'm like, no. Like it's easy to start getting sidetracked and chasing likes and chasing follows of being like, well, wait. Okay. Is that what we're talking about? Is that our mission? What's happening? And if it is something that we're, you know, maybe that is something that we need to tap into a little bit. But for the most part, it's like, if you're genuinely doing it just for you, if it's your passion and you believe in it, you know, then that will give you longevity, right?
Yeah. And I think with social media, trends are obviously huge. And the trend has to make sense for you, right?
Yeah.
I am having some really good success with a therapy client right now. She's actually Sarah, I mentioned to you, her. She does therapy specifically for high achieving women.
Mm-hmm.
So she's very niche down, right?
Yeah.
And for her, trends have done really well because we've developed them trending to her ideal audience.
Yeah.
And if you don't know your ideal audience to that specific,
right,
it's not going to work. A big example right now, Taylor Swift got engaged, as you know. Every single company, small business is like posting a picture of Taylor Swift right now from the engagement, trying to make it relevant to their business. There's very few businesses where Taylor Swift getting engaged is your ideal audience, right? I'm going to say, unless you serve millennial women, Gen Z women and girls, you don't need to be posting that.
Yeah.
So there was a couple brands that I saw. There was like Hydrojug posted their when the new album came out for Taylor Swift, it had a orangish color that they had a Hydrojug. And their marketing team was posting that color because Taylor Swift had just launched this album. That makes sense, right? Their ideal audience is probably buying water bottles.
Right.
They're now attuned to that color.
Right.
That makes sense. But if you're, you know, a pest control posting Taylor Swift when the husbands are the ones, you know what I mean? So no, not every trend is for you. And same thing with podcasting, if you're talking about hot topics or things that, are happening in the news, but you're not actually a news podcast, again, it has to be relevant for you and your business and what you want it to be, right? Like one thing I want to say too is like, don't be scared to change. And that's something I've really loved about you and Kelly is like, you've evolved so much to what the original Chasing Brighter was.
Yeah.
And it was vague and we didn't know who we were talking to. And even just last week, we had a conversation of like, right now your goal is focusing on midlife, but maybe midlife isn't who's listening anymore. And like, it's okay to change. It's okay to evolve.
Yeah.
And people who are wanting to stay for you, just like you mentioned, they'll stay for whatever that evolution is.
So I always say I'm a recovering know-it-all. And I think like, right where people like tell you and you're like, yeah. One of the things I noticed, and I think that goes for business like you're talking about, but because I was talking about that in sports. And so, my daughter is going to be a collegiate athlete and has committed to play college softball. And that is because her coaches told us what to do and we did it. I'd never questioned her coach. I was like, you're the expert. I'm having you go to her for batting. You said do this. You said do this. Everything that he told us. And then her club ball coach told us, this is why she was recruited for softball. I'm going to do what you told me to do. Right. And I see it so clearly there because I'm just like, I so openly embrace an expert. And it's like, you're an expert and you're saying this. And so it's like, and that's one of Tony Will's pillars of like an expert.
Yes.
She says, go to the experts.
Yes.
That's one of her things.
Well, it's funny you're saying that because as you're speaking, I'm thinking about the people that'll come to me and I work with them for 3 months and they're like, well, I didn't get any followers. So I'm going to go. And then they go to the next person. And guess what? The next person probably didn't get them followers because if you really listen to, I work specifically in organic social media. My job is to build your brand, flow with your brand. But I will clearly tell you, I don't get you sales. I don't get you followers. There are so many touch points. I get them maybe to the link in your bio. But what is that link? If your website isn't optimized, if your podcast isn't good, like all of those things affect if they stick around, if they buy, if they listen. And people don't want to listen to the experts because they think, but there's also the problem of consumption. They hear one TikTok that, well, my social media manager isn't doing that. My baseball coach isn't doing that. So now I'm going to fire them.
Right.
And it comes down to values. My values are integrity and trust. I am always going to lead with value for my client. And I'm always going to put our relationship first. And you're going to get really, really good work from me. It's going to be on time, all of these different things. But if you're having different expectations of what I'm going to deliver, then you won't be happy. And that's the same thing what you're saying with the kids, right? Is like, if you're having these expectations and maybe it's not happening fast enough, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But you're choosing to now not trust this person and start all the way over with somebody else.
And it's like we're talking about just investing in yourself and that slow build. And I think, I love the term boutique brand these days, right? And you're a boutique firm. And I think what that means is, would you agree, like a hands-on tailored approach?
And small and bite-sized. I mean, it's me and Catherine, my assistant right now, and I would love to eventually scale and have more people, but I love that my hands are in every single client and I'm on the call with every single client. And it's been something that I've had to like, as a probably Enneagram 3 achiever girly, something I've had to like take a breath on. And it's funny when you were saying the boutique thing, because I interviewed one of my longtime friends. I used to babysit for her and she's a local wedding planner in town. She was like, I only do 8 weddings a year and I don't want to do more and I don't want to do less. I do 8 weddings and I'm super picky about it. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, you don't want to do 70 weddings and be ranked the top wedding planner in the entire world? She's like, I would love to, but that's not my goal. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to do 8 weddings. And I could not wrap my mind about it. I literally went to my business coach. I was like, why does she only want to do 8 weddings? Like, why doesn't she want to achieve the greatest thing in the whole world? Right. And in my head, I have to be the number one. I have to have the most clients. I have to be doing all these things. But then when I really sit back and think about it, I'm like, that sounds exhausting. Like, I would rather have 8 incredible clients that are paying me what I want and I love what they're doing and I get to be a part of it. That's more my version of success, but the world tells you different. And there's also like a time and place for everything. And
Yeah.
I, for so long, was trying to be this person where like I could say on Instagram from 0 to 10K in 1 month or like 3 days. Like I just
Yeah.
wanted to be that person.
Yeah.
And I just had this realization of like, if you look at my businesses, if you were to sit down and we were look financially, like I am such a naturally slow builder. Like I
Yeah.
am such someone that's like slowly scaling up. And even with the podcast, same way, like I just naturally do things slow. And I do that because I'm intentional and I don't choose every client and I don't choose
Yeah.
every guest. And like it was me that was not okay with it.
Yeah.
And if I look at my natural rhythms, I just have to realize that that's okay and things are going to move slower.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be that girl that's
Yeah.
going to walk at the front of the room and be like, I got 6 figures in a week. Like that's just not going to be who I
Yeah.
am. But I was, and I still sometimes am, living in this headspace because of consumption and the internet and what people post of like, but that's who I'm supposed to be. And so
Yeah.
it's having more intentional conversations with people in similar spaces than me, right? Like
Yeah.
we talk about Chasing Brighter's podcast numbers every month. I could sit there and be like, wow, well, my podcast sucks because I don't have those numbers. I'm not top 2% or like all these things. But instead I could be like, well, Kelly and Jessica have been doing this for 4 years.
Yeah.
And you started last year. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and it's
Yeah.
having those intentional mindset conversations with yourself
Not getting
of like,
sidetracked with
okay,
the noise.
well, yeah, like what are the facts? That's what my therapist always says is like, the
Yeah.
facts are they've been doing it a lot longer. They're putting
Yeah.
out a lot more content than you.
Yeah.
So of course they're going to be more ahead. And it's just
Yeah.
like, and Kelly and Jessica probably are sitting there like, well, why aren't we more ahead? You know, like it's
Yeah.
having those constant conversations. And it's just interesting because I just think sometimes, at least for me, I'm like, oh my God, am I the only one having these conversations in my head?
Yeah.
Like everyone else is just fine and going about their day and checking
Yeah.
things off the list. And then the podcast for me is really an opportunity to sit down with women like you and then hear them go, oh, that's me. I'm doing the same.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that circles back to like your why at the beginning on why you want to have your own business. And I go back to that is something that Lisa Chastain like clicked for me when she said women own businesses. That's what's going to change. And I think just because women are the caretakers of the world and not that you need to have a flexibility in business because you need to be there for your family. But it is, we have this flexibility. Like I work more than anyone, even though my husband had made a comment about me work because he was like, well, you were at Pilates, you know, because he literally works, 7 to 3.
Men love to.
Yes. And it's like men don't like Pilates. I don't know. They like to have those Pilates digs. But I was like, yeah, but when I come home, my computer's on my lap all the freaking time. Like I'm always thinking, working.
Also, I'm sure you're sitting in Pilates thinking of a massive to-do list and all the kids you need to pick up and all the things you need to pack for softball that weekend.
Right. But it's just because I'm not, I'm saying like when you own your own business and you're an entrepreneur, like for a woman, you can work whenever you want to work. And so you don't have to you can work. And again, I'm not saying that you should have time for yourself to have time for yourself because you deserve time. You're worthy, the end, period. However, the reality of my life is like I have 3 children and I want to be there for them. So that allows me the flexibility. Like I get to pick them up from school. I get to take them to school. I get to be at all of those events because I own my own business. And it's like for you too, it's like your why eventually, like now you want to be, with your nephews.
And I've had to be so cautious to teach myself to switch off of like, no, I built this to have an hour where I could help my sister and babysit and still get all my work done later. And it's hard. I don't know how moms do it because I can easily leave and like be in a different position to focus on work, but to be running a business and then also have little ones underneath you or calling you or texting you, like your brain is on overload.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how I did it. The first 5 years of a child's life is so intense. And where I feel, I don't know if you felt that way when you babysit, but like you're trying to like keep them alive. Like they're constantly trying to die. You know what I mean? Like, especially when they're toddlers are like, I'm going to climb on this and I'm going to put this in my mouth and I'm going to climb in the toilet. And you cannot relax. And I feel like it was 5 years of not chilling.
Yeah. That was my nephew eating a piece of nail yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. where you're like, no, they're like trying to kill themselves.
I'm
like they're
that's
drinking.
male. You're not a dog.
They're drinking. They'll drink anything they see. You know, like my 14-year-old. It's funny. He used to grab coffee and went to the coffee shop all the time. I meet my girlfriends when he was little, and he would just grab a coffee and chug it when he was little. I don't even know how anybody does it, and that's crazy. I think you just need a village.
No, truly, and that's the thing is like,
yeah,
you have to just take a deep breath sometimes. And that's what I have to do. I have no idea if I was in a place where I was having kids, because I think that will probably take me out if I had to think of anything, because I'm such a organized person, and especially with my business, like I have actually interviewed a couple solopreneurs, people just starting businesses. I have an episode with her name's Chelsea Markham. She started her business and gave birth, literally launched her business and gave birth 2 weeks later.
Oh my
So
gosh.
she has been building, it's a caffeine electrolyte company.
Okay.
She's been building it and scaling it literally the entire first year postpartum with her baby. And I was in awe of her because I'm like, that is terrifying. And just like, of course, all the research out now and trying to like be more mindful and not be on your phone or your computer in those early developmental years. I just think there's a difference, and I'm passionate about it, of like women and men doing that. And obviously there are men who work virtually and can't just like clock in, clock off. But traditionally men have that much easier than women.
Yeah. That's been that big thing. What was it that came out? Because someone said something. It was like a quote that someone said. And it was about, I don't know, it was like this huge CEO and how he was able to do that. And there was like no mention, you know, they've been talking about like there's no mention of like that the wife was home watching the kids so you could be able to do that.
Yeah, I don't remember who said it.
And they talk about like the labor of women. Mm-hmm. There was something around a little bit about how the labor of like men's accomplishments are built on the back of women doing free labor.
Interesting.
Kind of thing. And so it's like when women are doing it, we're doing it with the baby on our back. You know?
Yeah.
You know, it's a great book. Did you read Shonda Rhimes' Year of Yes?
No. You read it for the podcast.
Yes, but the reason I think that's a great book is because she really embraces being a working mom. Okay. And she's like, and when I'm doing great at work, I'm a shitty mom. Yes. And when I'm doing mom stuff, I'm a shitty at work. And I just like, that was like permission of being like, I want my kids to see a working mom. And they know like, this is a lifestyle we have because I'm a working mom. And so I think there is something about that we have to let go of some of that like guilt, because there's mom guilt anyway.
Yeah.
But that's a great book.
It's interesting because when you and Kelly, I don't think I'd ever heard of the term mental load until you and Kelly started talking about it on the podcast. And obviously, like the term mental load is really trendy right now with mothers, which obviously I can't even imagine having children and taking on all of that responsibility. But it was interesting when you guys started talking about it, because I was like one day driving and I had such like, literally I described it to my therapist as like my brain is swelling. Like I just feel so much is in my head and I don't know like what to do. And then I was like, wait, like I think this is mental load.
It's a mental load.
I was like, this isn't just like a mom thing, right? Like obviously in the context that makes sense. But it's been interesting to really think about that and like have that feeling and be like, okay, well, what is going on or what is in my head?
Yeah.
And I had mentioned before we started, I've been working with a functional practitioner and he's like, oh, are you stressed? And it's interesting because when I was in college and I was experiencing anxiety and depression and someone would ask me if I'm stressed, I'm like, yes. And now in adulthood, I'm like, no, I'm not stressed because I don't feel stressed, but I am stressed because my body's telling me I'm stressed, but I don't even feel it. Like I just keep going. And it's so interesting because I'm 30 and like a lot of my friends, they have kids and families and they talk about these things, but I've just done it myself a disservice because I'm like, oh, well, I don't have kids, so I'm not experiencing.
And that's sad. Yes. And that's what people are talking about. Like that's been a big thing because of crazy things men have been saying on social media that like you unworthy and amazing, even if you're a woman that hasn't bared children.
Yeah.
And that you're like telling yourself this message, well, I can't complain or be stressed or be whatever because I don't have kids, which is so silly.
No, and it's like no one told me that. It's just like I see.
Well, it's a programming, like we talked about at the beginning.
I see, you know, like my sister who is an incredible mom of 2, plus she's a nurse. And when she, like 2 weeks after she gave birth, she went to nursing school, like doing it all incredible. I'm like, that girl, she is allowed to be stressed. She is allowed to be overwhelmed and all the things. And I'm like, well, I, am still living at home to save money. I run a business, but I get to do a podcast at 10 o'clock on a Friday. Like, what should I be stressed about? And it's such a catch-22, right? Because we live in America and there's so much percentage of the world that's like not doing as well as we are. And so we should be grateful. But there's this push and pull that I feel of like trying to have that gratitude, but also giving myself like the grace to be like, but it is hard work.
Creating space. Well, because I think it's all relative. Like, yeah, I could compare myself like to families in Ukraine right now or whatever, but it's like, but this is my experience and this is whatever. As we start winding down, I want to know like what you're reading, what you're watching, what you're listening to.
Yes. So listening to this morning when I was getting ready, the new Sabrina Carpenter album just dropped.
Okay.
I haven't found a song I loved yet, but I need to get through all of it. So I am listening to that. And my podcasts have been on summer breaks. Unfortunately, like my two favorite podcasts both went on maternity leave at the same time. So I'm very excited because they're coming back. I'm a big toaster.
Okay.
I love the Toast Girlies.
Okay.
So they come back next week. And then the Skinny Confidential, she's also been on a hiatus for maternity leave. Okay. So she's coming back too. So I'm excited about that. And then I'm listening and reading two books. So I'm listening to The Anxious Generation right now. I just finished the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins.
Okay.
I had been like, I'm just like a slow burner. Like if everyone's doing it, I need to wait a little bit.
Yeah.
But obviously it was great. I love Mel Robbins. And then The Anxious Generation has been one I wanted to read for a while, but I was nervous too because I'm like, I'm going to want to
I need to listen to it.
Away.
I bought the book.
It's very
but I need to
heavy,
listen.
like a lot of facts.
Yeah.
I have to do doses. So it's like my walking 20-minute one.
Yeah.
But already I'm like telling my sister. They say no phones till 14.
Yeah.
No social till 16.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think.
Yeah.
But very good. I'm also reading Hopeless by Colleen Hoover right now.
Okay.
I am a big murder mystery gal, and sometimes it gets too dark, and then I realize myself getting dark, and I'm like, okay, we need a love story.
Yeah.
But it was just,
I have to do brain candy. I have to do contemporary romance. The intense.
So I thought this was going to be like a lighthearted love story, but then a plot twist just happened like literally this morning when I was reading it, and now I'm like concerned I got myself into another sad one. So we'll see how that goes. But so far it's really good, and it's one of her on Goodreads. It's one of her like highly rated books.
Really?
Yeah, it's like 4.5. So
I'll have to give that one a listen.
Yeah.
You know what's so fun? Gabby is taking psychology in the legal system. And it's basically kind of like forensic psychology. And they have to listen to an episode of Serial every week. How fun is that?
That is so fun.
And she loves that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? Because I specialize in anxiety as a therapist, so many of my clients love murder. Like they love this murder podcast. And I'm like, guys, stop reading a murder mystery before bed.
If I did not live with, literally I live with my parents and my sister who's like right across the hall, could not do that at all.
Yeah.
It's because of the environment. If I was like by myself, no way.
Yeah.
No way.
That's so funny. Yeah. So where can our listeners find you?
Yes. So you can find me personally. It's at Kassidy.Owen on Instagram. And then my business is at kassidylynnesocial. And then the podcast is the In Between Podcast. And I interviewed Jess last season, 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you'll link everything in the show.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks
for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening today.
If you loved today's episode, share with a friend.
Are you ready to chase brighter days ahead? Subscribe to Chasing Brighter now, and let's embark on this exciting journey together.